The first punch landed before anyone realized what was happening. A quiet afternoon outside a small neighborhood diner turned into chaos in seconds. 3 younger men surrounded a 78-year-old veteran, laughing, shoving, daring him to do something about it. They thought his age made him weak. They thought the medals on his jacket were just decorations from a forgotten past. What they didn't understand was that some men grow older, but they never stop being soldiers. And when they knocked him to the ground, they had no idea who they were really picking a fight with. He had served his country decades ago. His back wasn't as straight as it once was, and his steps were slower now, but his eyes still carried that steady, disciplined focus. He visited the diner every Thursday, ordered the same coffee, sat at the same booth. Staff respected him. The regulars knew his name. That afternoon, as he stepped outside, the 3 men were waiting near the entrance. Loud, restless, looking for someone to test. Nice costume, old man, one of them mocked, pointing at the veteran's jacket. It's not a costume, he replied calmly. They circled him. One shoved him lightly. Another laughed, but you can't even defend yourself. He didn't react. He had learned long ago that ego is louder than strength, but when one of them slapped his hat off his head, something changed. Not anger. Not fear. Just resolve. He bent down slowly to pick it up. That's when the second shove came harder. He stumbled, losing balance, falling to one knee. The third man pushed him fully to the pavement. Phones came out. A few bystanders froze, unsure whether to intervene. One of the attackers sneered. What are you gonna do? Call your army buddies. The veteran looked up at them, steady despite the blood at the corner of his lip. Yes, he said quietly. I am. They laughed. He reached into his pocket with slow precision and pulled out his phone. His fingers didn't shake. He pressed one contact. Just one. He didn't yell into the receiver. He didn't need to. They forgot who we are, he said simply. Then he ended the call. The men continued mocking him, unaware that the next 15 minutes would change everything. The diner owner helped him to his feet and guided him to a chair inside. People whispered nervously. The attackers lingered outside, confident nothing would happen. 10 minutes passed, then the sound came. It wasn't sirens. It wasn't police lights. It was engines, low, powerful, approaching from different directions. One motorcycle turned onto the street, then another. Then 5 more. Pickup trucks followed behind. Flags fluttered lightly in the wind. Kind of quiet procession that doesn't need to announce itself. The 3 men stopped laughing. Dozens of veterans stepped out onto the sidewalk. Some walked with canes. Some wore leather jackets with old unit patches stitched across the back. Others wore caps marked with divisions and years of service. They didn't rush. They didn't shout. They simply formed a line. The street fell silent. One of the attackers tried to joke. What is this? A reunion. No one responded. An older man with a firm posture stepped forward. His presence alone commanded attention. He looked at the 78-year-old, now standing with help at the diner entrance. You called, the man said. I did, the veteran replied. The leader turned slowly toward the 3 attackers. You thought he was alone. The attackers shifted uncomfortably. One of them muttered something about it being just a joke. The leader's voice remained steady. You put your hands on a man who served this country before you were born. More engines echoed in the distance. More veterans arrived. The crowd of bystanders had grown. Phones were still recording, but now the tone had changed. No one was laughing. The attackers realized something important in that moment. They weren't facing one elderly man anymore. They were facing decades of loyalty. Brotherhood. Discipline forged in places they couldn't even imagine. The leader stepped closer. Not threatening. Not aggressive. Just firm. You will apologize, he said. Now. One by one, the attackers' confidence drained. The youngest of them spoke first, voice trembling. You're sorry. Not to me, the leader replied. They turned toward the 78-year-old veteran. The men who had been shoved to the pavement stood taller now, supported but unbroken. I'm sorry, the main attacker said, barely meeting his eyes. The veteran studied him for a long moment. He could have pressed charges immediately. Could have demanded more. Instead, he said something simple. Respect isn't about fear. It's about understanding. Silence felt heavier than any punishment. Police finally arrived, called earlier by witnesses. Statements were taken. Consequences were discussed. The attackers no longer smirked. Their laughter was gone. As the situation settled, the veterans didn't celebrate. They didn't boast. They stood together for a few more minutes. A quiet wall of unity. The leader placed a hand on the 78-year-old's shoulder. You'll never stand alone. Veteran nodded, because that was the truth. Years may pass. Hair may turn gray. Bodies may slow down, but loyalty doesn't. As the engine started again and the veterans rode off one by one, the neighborhood understood something powerful that day. You can underestimate a man's strength, you can mock his age, but if he once stood for something greater than himself, he never truly stands alone.